Yo, what is up, guys? So as you can tell from the title of today's video, we're going to be going over directional arrows, so arrow right or arrow left. Doesn't matter what you want to use, it's purely preference. So before we even get into the specifics of what you can do with arrow right or left, we got to cover which one you're going to pick and why. So first off, this is something that gave me a hard time at the start. When it first came out, when it first got implemented into the game, I tried to use arrow left. And when I tried to use this for the first time, it felt super awkward, super uncomfortable, and nothing felt right about it. And then I realized that every time I'm flipping in game on the ground, I flip to the right. When I'm doing aerials and stuff, I always turn to the right still. So what I noticed is that arrow right is best for me. Even though I wanted to use arrow left, arrow right would be best for me because of the way I flip. My tendencies, the way the arrow bind works is just much better for me on the right side. So that's how you can figure that out. If you tend to flip more to the left side, probably arrow left's best for you. If you tend to flip more to the right side, arrow right's probably best for you. And that'll also help you out. I know it's a little bit ahead of things in this tutorial, but that'll also help you out if you want to eventually get good at doing stuff like this, because if you're arrow right and you flip to the right, you can just carry on the air dribble because you're already flipping that direction anyway. So if you flip to the left, you can just carry it on with the arrow left as well. So that's a good useful thing about it as well, is that you can do those air dribbles you always see me doing where I flip and then I'm able to just keep on going because I'm using arrow right. So what we're going to do now is, once you have that picked, you got to go over to your bindings. You got to go down to where it says arrow right or left, and obviously put it on a button. I have mine on square. I also like to have my default arrow bind as well on top of that. So I have my default arrow bind on L1 as well. I'm not always only using arrow right. I'm using probably 80% arrow right, 20% regular arrow. So you do want to have a default arrow bind still too. So I would try to just add this in somewhere if you can. So make sure you have a regular arrow bind on whatever button you want, and an arrow left or right bind based on your preference on whatever button you want as well. So make sure you have one of each, because I think it's very useful to be able to use each for different situations. Because for example, why I think this, if I'm going for an air roll shot on the right side of the net on the ball to do this, that's regular air roll. If I'm doing it on the left side of the net, that's regular air roll as well. But say I wanted to use arrow right for this, which I never do. I never use arrow right for these kinds of shots. Arrow right works on this side, sure. But then I get onto the other side. And how am I going to arrow that direction to get the shot I want, right? My arrow right will always bring my car this way. It's going to be hard for me to get the exact kind of accurate shot that I can get out of regular air roll. So I would definitely recommend regular air roll for that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole idea of why I have both air rolls and how you pick your own air roll. We got that stuff out of the way. Now, let's get into actually learning how this thing works. So everything I'm going to be showing you guys right here is all for arrow right. But if you're using arrow left, don't worry, because it's just the opposite. So you just flipped of everything you see me doing, and it's not hard at all. There's pretty much only 4 different ways you can flip like this. So let's start off. If you jump and press your arrow right button, which for me is square, as you can see, my car just does a simple barrel roll. I'm not pressing my left stick at all. And this is just the very basic air roll that you can do with arrow right. And I pretty much never ever am just pressing this without my stick. I always press my stick to some extent. I always use my stick to some extent. I think it's better. So pretty much that's what happens when you just jump, press your arrow right. So that's not how you should be using this arrow. That's not how you should be using this arrow. You shouldn't be jumping at balls and just holding the button. That shouldn't be what you're doing. So now you mess around with the 4 different types of way to actually properly use this arrow. So you jump, hold square, and you pull down this time. And you'll see that you do a different kind of turn. And then you jump, hold square, and hold left. Jump, hold square, hold up. Jump, hold square, hold right. So square is my button, whatever your button is. Obviously, press that button to do it. So those are pretty much the 5 different ways you can air roll with arrow right. Or arrow left, doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It would just be the opposite directions for arrow left. The reason why people use this over normal air roll is because you can move up and down as well as left and right with just one button. So you could do twice as much with one button, right? So you can actually get way more accomplished in the air and just move way more like fluidly pretty much. You can see like it looks so much better when people are using air roll right or air roll left. You can tell the difference immediately. Just the stuff you could do in the air is insane. So there is no easy way to practice this, but what I would recommend, as I would for all mechanics, is go into any training pack. Really, it doesn't really matter. I haven't picked one out customly for this, but I'm going to use wall to air dribble, for example, because it's a good one to get an idea of how to use it. Load up any training pack. This is just an example. Wall to air dribble is the training pack I'm using right now. And you're going to get an idea of when to use each air roll, each part of the air roll. So remember, like I said, there is the one to the right, one to the top, one to the left, and one to the bottom. So straight off the bat, guys, one thing that I will say is the upward version of arrow right, holding up on the left stick, is very good for coming off the wall for air dribble. So here's an example of that. See how it kind of just stays on my car and I can just keep on going with the ball? That's just holding up and arrow right. That's all I did. And I was able to get a perfect takeoff off the wall and it was able to just stick on my car. That's just up and arrow right there. So you can use that and add a little bit to it, obviously. You can add a little bit more flair. You can do like different things with it. You don't need to just hold up. But what I would say is definitely practice just holding up off the air dribbles coming off the wall. I'm not trying to score off this one, just an example. Just keep on going and keep holding up. And you'll see that you'll get a much better takeoff than you would with default air roll. This is an example with default air roll. You see how it kind of gets away from me for a little bit and I have to just be really stiff the whole time? You have the extra level of movement with air roll right? Where you can just kind of like keep the ball in full control and get to wherever you want to get to. And that comes from knowing when to use each version of it, right? That was all arrow right. That was all different versions of arrow right, little adjustments here or there. But it started with that upward hold of the button. So straight off the bat, that's the best scenario to use, the upward version of this arrow. When I'm in the air though, I'm actually not holding just up. I go back down to the bottom left into this version. This is bottom left. So it's a mixture of this and also this. But it gives you that perfect amount of control over the ball in the air. So you're doing that, and you're doing little circles on your stick. And that's going to give you the perfect amount of control when you're mid-air dribble. So that's what you should be using for mid-air dribble. So to start it off, you're using up, and then mid-air dribble, you're using bottom left and going in little circles, and you have to get a feel for that. You're going in little circles between bottom left over to the right side of your left stick as well. It's kind of hard to explain. It's something you definitely have to get a feel for, but this is the best I can possibly explain it, guys. Each bit of arrow right is used for specific situations, and that's how you use it to the best of its ability. You can't use one exact flip or one exact rotation for every single thing. It won't work. There's just no way. So like I said, start off your air roll holding up, and then you go down to the bottom once you have control of it, and then you can kind of get behind the ball, do whatever you want to do when you have control of it. But that's those two ways of using those two flips. All right, so I'll cover the other two, and straight off the bat, I'll say that holding down an arrow right, there's very few, if any, scenarios where it is actually useful. I'm not gonna lie. There's very few scenarios where I actually just hold down. But I will hold to the right sometimes, and the biggest scenario for this is if I'm on the wall and the ball's with me and I want to jump off quick. That's what it would look like. So what I'm doing with this is I'm popping the ball down, I arrow right side, and then I double jump to get myself down to the ground. So I'm letting go of my arrow right button for a half second, not even, maybe less than that, and then I'm double jumping down to the floor to get there quicker. And that's what it looks like. Quick time. Really quick, just near the ground. Can also be used as like a fake type of thing as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the best way to use that. It would be just holding that direction and then you fake jump. That's the only way I really use that, to be honest. And then we get into the whole idea of how can you use that in the air, and there's really no way to use it in the air outside of, you notice that your car ends up like this, right? Midway through this flip. So what's that good for when your wheels are perfectly upside down like that? You notice when you do to the left, your wheels are pointing up, right? That's not that good for you if your wheels are pointing up. But if you do it to the right, your wheels are looking perfect for flip resets. So that's perfect for flip resets, as you could tell, because of the way the car is slanted downward a little bit. So you aim to the right, and there you go. Like, you get a perfect reset, and now you have full control of the ball in that situation. So that's the best way to go for resets with this air roll. So there you go, guys. We learned how to do the air roll off the wall to have full control of the air dribble. Then when you have control of the air dribble, how to continue moving it left or right, which is going bottom left of your stick. And then we've learned that to the right, you can get flip resets with it, or you can do this little dribble fake. Those are two things that I do with it. There's a lot of uses for this air roll, guys. It's more than just this. So don't ever think it's just this. One more thing that I could mention is the quote-unquote breezy flick, which is pretty much just a modified musty flick. It's a musty flick using air roll right or left, a directional air roll, where you do this, and then you backflip. So all that is, I'll break it down. When you're learning any mechanic, you try to break it down into steps. This is the best way to learn anything in this game or anything in any game. Break it down into steps, make it easy for your brain to understand, and then work at it slowly by slowly. So what we'll do is we're going to jump, hold to the left, and arrow right. That's what we're doing to start it off. Now all you're going to do for this is you stop air rolling halfway as soon as your car is facing you, like you're about to flip reset your own face. That's what you should stop it at, right around there. As soon as the bottom of your car is facing you. Stop that rotation right there, let go of the button. So now you're going to let go of that button, but you're going to keep on holding to the same direction. So you're going to let go of your arrow right, but keep holding the same direction so the bottom of your car goes down like this. Facing you, let go, hold down. So just keep on practicing that. Let go of the button and then hold down. Let go of the button and then hold down. So the bottom of your car ends up touching the ground pretty much. And then once your car is consistently at that point in that jump, you add the backflip into it. And you keep on practicing that. So now with the ball, you do all those things. And it ends up looking like that. That's just a very simple version of it. I'm trying to do it as simply as possible. Arrow right, you stop, continue it without the arrow right, and then you just backflip. And you just keep on practicing that over and over again, and you'll get much more consistent with it, and you'll get a better understanding of how it works. And you'll even be able to do it off the ceiling or off the walls eventually at some point as well. So that's how you can use left air roll in another way as well. Yeah, guys, I can go on and on about how to use this and the different little uses for it, but it won't feel good to you and it won't feel comfortable until you get into a game and you keep practicing everything that I talked about. And there's nothing I could simply say that'll make you better at this. It really just comes down to me just explaining the main ways you can actually use this air roll with your stick, like left, right, up, down, and then the best scenarios for those in game. That's the only thing I can really do to help you guys, right? There's nothing more beyond that I can do to help you guys, because you have to put the effort in and you have to learn how to get a good feel for it, because it gets to a point where it's just muscle memory and you'll have a feel for it and you'll know what's best to do in each situation. So outside of what I told you guys, just go into any training pack once you've tried some of the things I talked about and just hold down your arrow right button when you jump. This is kind of unrealistic. You shouldn't always do this, obviously, but just hold down your arrow right button and get a feel for how to use it and hit a ball properly with it. That's all you should try to do, and just get an idea of what you should be doing when you have a chance to hit the ball in the air. Also, guys, another thing you can use, another good tool to help you improve with this really fast, probably faster than anything else, are these rings maps. So it might not look like it, but if you just hold arrow right throughout this and try to like get a feel for how to control your car and maneuver them through all these hoops, it's very difficult, and especially for your first time, you probably won't finish if you're using arrow right for the first time or arrow left. But just go through the map and try to go as quick as you can, just holding the arrow right button, and just like look at me like arrow in all these different directions, just like practicing different ways of going in the air full speed with this, and you'll just learn really quick. If you watch my left stick, you'll see all the little movements I'm doing, all the little adjustments, and there's even times where I'm letting off my arrow right for a bit, sometimes where I'm just like letting it off completely and I'm just chilling. So definitely practice with something like this, guys. That'll help you out a lot. I'm not going to do the whole course right now, but that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this video, to be honest, guys. I'm just going to fly away into the sunset, but that's all I wanted to cover for this video. I wanted you guys to have a better idea of how to control your car with this thing, because I know a lot of people, especially when I'm streaming, ask me about it, and I just don't know how to simply answer that question. There's no simple way to answer that question. It comes down to like putting so much time and effort into learning the mechanic, and even then, you know, even I make mistakes with it sometimes. Like I've never really done these hoops maps or these rings maps with this, so I'm not that great at it. But in game, if I need to do something with the ball with arrow right, I can do it every single time, and that just comes down to me putting a lot of work and effort into learning it. So I'm sure if you guys put the same amount of effort in, you'll learn it, and if you apply the things that I said in each of those situations, I promise you it'll make a lot more sense to you. Just try to go off the wall air dribbling using the upward version of it, where you do that same flip like this to get control of that first touch. It's going to help you out so much, like an insane amount. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. It's going to be all for this one. If you guys want to see any tutorials about anything else, this is something that I thought I should just make one on because I always get the question. But if you guys want to see any other specific tutorials, I can get around to whatever. If you guys want to see like a Road to Supersonic Legend type series or whatever it may be, just let me know, and I'm down for whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have yourself a wonderful day or night, whatever time you guys may be watching this. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. I love y'all. I'm gonna go finish off this rings map. Peace.
How could I trust you when you hurt me so bad?